Everybody, Sam Strains here, welcome back to the Railway and welcome to the very first of my Thomas & Friends unboxings / reviews for 2018. Now this one, today's, is quite a special one because I've had requests for this hundreds of times, seriously hundreds of times. Every single Thomas & Friends unboxing I did last year in 2017 must have got at least 5 comments a piece asking for this particular engine. And so I have listened, I finally got him. It is a little bit tricky sometimes to get these Bachmann models over here in the UK where I am, just because the prices fluctuate so much and, you know, to import them from America can be quite expensive, and so it takes a little bit of searching to get them at a good price, but I finally got him, and here he is. So this is the Bachmann Oliver from Thomas & Friends, and he's a brilliant little engine. I love him already. He has been out of the packaging so I could run him in and make sure he works, because it wouldn't be very nice if we tried to run him during his review and he didn't work. I think he'd be embarrassed by that, to be honest. So we don't want that, so he does work, and that's good news. And today I'm going to be unboxing him for the second time in his life, and I hope you're going to enjoy seeing him. So together, let's take a look at Oliver and see what all the fuss is about, shall we? Okay, let's get him out. And I reckon they must have released Oliver just before they released Rosie, because Rosie had the sort of updated packaging, which had, I think, clouds and things on it, didn't it? But no, this one doesn't, so that new packaging must be very, very new. Anyway, so here's Oliver, and you can see him just inside there, and actually, judging by the look on his face, he's not too pleased about being inside this packaging, so I think I'm just going to get him out straight away. There's no sense in looking at all the packaging and such, because they are all basically the same. So I've done my little trick, as you could see. I've used very carefully, by the way, I've used a knife just to cut into the back there, and that means that you can use the packaging to store the locos in if you want to, although we have noticed that on some of them, so Toby for example, the packaging can damage them a little bit when it touches the paintwork. But you know, it's up to you of course. This Oliver is fine by the looks of it. So there's Oliver in his little tray, and I'm going to grab his paperwork if it's in here. Yep, it's in here. So we'll just have a very quick look at Oliver's paperwork, because it's always quite entertaining, I think, to see how their faces have been drawn. But it's not an interesting one, unfortunately. It's just literally a circle with 2 eyes on it. But nonetheless, there's the exploded diagram. You can see all the parts in there, parts for the eye mechanism, all of the wheels and such. So if you ever need to replace them, absolutely, you can order those from Bachmann. That's very cool. But okay, let's take a look at Oliver then, shall we? Now, if I can, I'm just going to get him out. So here he is. What a tiny little engine. Absolutely brilliant. So yep, he's in the Great Western Green, as you can see, and he's got this tiny little face, which we'll look at more later on. So as I'm going to talk about in just a second, Oliver is actually based on the Great Western 14XX. And just for comparison, I brought my Hornby 14XX down here, just so that you can see. And in comparison, the two are quite different in terms of size. You can tell that Oliver is quite a bit smaller. So maybe that means that Oliver has been sort of modelled in HO scale. Rather than 00 as my 14XX is, because as you can tell there is definitely quite a noticeable size difference there, but I'm not too sure whether that's just in inaccuracy with one of the models or again if it's a slightly different scale. But nonetheless, here's a little bit of history on Oliver for you, and this will give you a little chance to learn something about him, I suppose, and then I'll give you a good close look at him in just a second. Okay, here we go. So Oliver was built over 80 years ago in 1934, as I said, as a 14XX tank engine from the Great Western Railway, and since 1967 he's lived on Sodor, where he works with 2 auto coaches called Isabel and Dulcie, and of course he's also got a brake van called Toad, as we all know. Oliver is very good-natured and he's always eager to learn, and even though he's only a very small tank engine, he's actually proved himself to be very strong and very useful, with Toad's help of course, and because of that he's very well respected by the other engines too, actually. He can be a touch boastful at times, and I can think of a particular red engine who's a bit like that as well, but he's usually very sensible and very well behaved, which is exactly what you want from an engine on Sodor, I think. Alright, so there he is then, the very, very lovely Oliver up against the white background. And when people were talking to me about this model before I bought it, they were saying it's got so much detail, way more than the other Thomas & Friends locos from Bachmann. And I thought, well, you know, they've never really had very much detail on them, so I can't see why Oliver would be any different. But to be honest with you, there is quite a bit of detail on this one that a lot of the other engines in the range don't have. So we'll talk about those in just a second, but first of all, I better show you the face. And first of all, I reckon this face has to win the award for the tiniest face ever put onto a Thomas & Friends model. It really, really is tiny. I mean, it's the size of my finger. It really, really is. The fingertip, in fact. Which is all the more impressive because, of course, it has got the moving eye mechanism behind there, which has to be fit in, which obviously is no small task in itself. Anyway, let's take a look at some of the other detail. First of all, let's talk about the painted detail, because it's quite impressive on this model. So, of course, you've got the sort of early Great Western crest. I think that's the early one, isn't it? Which is obviously quite basic, but nicely applied nonetheless. And then, of course, just in front of the cab, you've got his number 11, which, of course, is Oliver's running number. And another feature I really like about this, and I don't know if this was a feature in real life, I don't think it's a feature on my Hornby models, but the wheels are also coloured green, and it's probably just fictitious, it's probably just something that Oliver's got, but I really think that looks nice. It really does bring out the wheels. I think it does a good job at that. So the handrails are also picked out in silver paint, and there's quite a few of them. You've got them around the smoke box here, you've got lots of them around the cab, and around the coal bunker, of course, you've got quite a bit of handrailing going on there. There's also lamps fitted to this model, which is one of the details I was speaking about. Look, the one on the back here, it's even been painted into red. You've got the lamp bit, which is red, to show the back, of course. I mean, that's a really, really nice detail, isn't it, for a model that is fairly basic and designed for kids. You've also got an empty lamp iron here on the other side, which is quite nice to see. And down on the buffer beam, look, you've got quite realistic looking buffers, but also you've got a vacuum pipe fitted, which is quite unbelievably good. And that's the same around the back as well. You've got the sort of large scale coupling hook, and again, a vacuum pipe fitted, which is lovely. Around the back you do have the painted lamp irons. Unfortunately they're not separately fitted, but I think that isn't necessarily a bad thing because it means it's going to be a little bit more robust. Now, with all of the other Thomas & Friends locomotives in the Bachmann range, unfortunately, well, all but one, I don't think Rosie was like this, but Oliver he has unfortunately got a filled-in cab. But of course, because he is such a tiny engine, there's not really a lot of space going spare, I wouldn't have thought, inside there. So they've obviously had to use this cab to store the weight or the motor or something like that, but unfortunately it is just blanked out, as you can see. On the plus side, though, you have got sort of yellow lining around the windows, which is really nice to see, although of course there's no need for any glazing. The whistles on this particular model aren't separately fitted, they're just sort of moulded into the front of the cab, but they are painted, which is fair enough. And of course you've got the safety valves inside this little cone here, which may be a separately fitted piece. It may just be moulded on equally, but it's certainly been painted up into sort of like a bronzy golden colour, which is quite nice to see. And of course, Oliver has got a very lovely tall chimney, which is quite a nice characteristic of the 14XX. Quite a tall chimney on that, and I think that has quite a nice character to it. So there he is, that is Oliver. Hope you've enjoyed seeing him up close. I'm going to take him down onto the railway now, and we'll see how he runs, shall we? And I think I'll reunite him with his auto coaches too. I think he'd like that. Okay, let's give it a try then. Okay, so there's Oliver down onto the line, and I think he looks a lot more relaxed now that he's down onto the track, which is the way he likes it, of course. So I wanted to make him feel as at home as possible, so I have dug out some auto coaches. Unfortunately, they don't look exactly like Isabel and Dulcie, but it's the best I've got, Oliver, so I hope you're okay with that. Now, I'm going to give him a little bit of slow speed testing then, just to see how he does. I'm not exactly sure if he's got pickups on his rear wheels. Has he? Well, there's one way to find out. I'll just hold his rear wheels on the track and see if he moves. Now, the rear wheels... Oh, yep, they do have pickups in them, so that's quite good. The rear wheels aren't sprung, shock horror, just like the Hornby one. But actually, this one seems to have been very precisely engineered so that the rear wheels just touch the track, and they certainly don't take any of Oliver's weight. So that's exactly what you want, and they even go round. So that is the way to do it. Hornby obviously didn't manage that. And Oliver also doesn't have traction tyres, I should point that out. Anyway, let's see how he goes then at slow speed. And he's not on the express point here, but he actually can get over the express point at a crawl without stopping, which is absolutely incredible. But as you can see, he does sort of lurch into action at a reasonably high speed. He can't really do those super slow speeds. I will try though. Go on, slow down a touch. Yeah, he just sort of buzzes and jerks around a little bit. So yeah, but he's not really designed to do those super slow speeds. Oh, he has cut out now. Oh, you always do this, Oliver, on camera. There we go. As you can see, though, fairly nice and smooth. That's pretty good. Anyway, obviously, as I mentioned earlier, his eyes do actually move, so I'm just going to pop the camera on in front of him, and you can see those moving for yourself. And this may look a little bit choppy because this camera doesn't actually do 60 frames per second, but hopefully you'll see his eyes move nonetheless. There we go. Yep, there we go. So as you can see, it works quite good. And again, for such a tiny face, it really is quite impressive. Okay, Oliver, let's take this camera off you then, and we'll let you go and meet your coaches, shall we? And they are auto coaches, so hopefully they'll be what Oliver is used to. Nice and steadily, Oliver. You've got to treat your coaches with respect. There we go. What a nice gentle coupling that was. Okay, well, he looks like he's pretty pleased with that coupling, and so am I, Oliver. Very well done. Okay, let's get him going then. Here we go, Oliver. Oop. Hang on, Oliver. Stop, 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 stop. Come back, come back. You've forgotten something. Everybody's screaming at you. So you've got your auto coaches, but you're missing somebody else. It's Toad. Now, I remember leaving Toad somewhere on the layout, and yep, there he is over there on the turntable. And actually, the other Hornby 14 XXs are standing guard of him there. So I think, Oliver, we're going to have to run you onto the turntable and pick up Toad, because it just wouldn't be right, would it, letting you run without him. Okay, let's move you forwards then, and I'll open this point. Oops, forwards, go on, off you go. Just out of shot for a second. Okay, that's just fine, Oliver. Now this is the point here that leads to the turntable, so all I've got to do is open it and then send Oliver into reverse, and oops, no, reverse, Oliver, he's gone forwards. Come on, Oliver, you're supposed to be a sensible engine. And he's got to be careful because it's not the easiest thing in the world to reverse coaches over points, but he's doing it. And he's on his way over now to the turntable. So I'll move the camera over there and we'll go and meet him, shall we? Now, if it's difficult to reverse over points, it's 10 times more difficult to reverse onto the turntable. So, Oliver, you've got to take it real steady. Don't derail those coaches. Ooh, he's struggling a little bit. Let's have a look at that. Oh, man. You see, if he had Toad to help him already, he wouldn't be struggling like this. But, okay, let's try again, Oliver. Just come forward slowly, don't worry. Now, I know we've just been saying how steady you've got to go on the turntable, but it looks like we haven't got a choice. So go a little bit faster, Oliver, and see if you can overcome it, okay? Let's try it. Oh, no. Still stuck. I think you got a little bit further that time, though, Oliver. Alright, third time's the charm. Let's go as fast as you can, okay? Oh, this isn't going to end well. Go on, go on, go on, push. Yep, I think you got him, Oliver. Is it coupled? Yes, right. Well done, Oliver. You've done it. So, Toad is now coupled to Oliver's auto coaches. And if we just move the camera over here and look at Oliver, he's about ready to go. He's now, of course, got even more weight to pull because Toad's quite heavy. But as far as I understand it, Toad often helps Oliver with his trains. So let's see if that happens this time. Let's see if Oliver can get off the turntable. Come on, Oliver. Give her a real good pull. Ah, I think he's stuck. Shall I give you a little hand, Oliver? I can't see how you're going to get out of this one without my help. Okay, I'll just give you a little tug. It's okay, I know it's heavy. There we go. Oh, almost. Once you're off the turntable, it'll be fine. And there goes Toad. So they're working together now, and between them, Oliver and Toad can just about manage this train. Come on, Oliver, you can do it. Come on, once you get onto the main line, you'll be fine. Do you need another little bit of a hand? Go on then. Bit more speed. There we go. Okay, let me show you who else is going to be running on the line today. And today's theme is the Great Western Way or the Wrong Way. So to run alongside Oliver, I've got Duck, who of course is also a Great Western engine, this time a pannier tank. And Duck is pulling 3 Great Western coaches, which is quite a nice load for him. So there goes Duck, also a Bachmann model. And then on the very inside line we have the other green engine from Sodor. This one is of course Percy, with some red coaches too. So there goes Percy, looking very lovely with his train. And see which other Great Western engines you can spot on the layout. There is one odd one out, so tell me in the comments which one that is if you spot it. And for bonus points, see if you can tell me which engine is still left on the track from the last review I did, which was the Bachmann 4575 class. Okay, enjoy your train spotting. Right, well I've actually had to take Toad off in the end because he was just a little bit too heavy. There's a bit of a problem with Toad's wheels where they don't go round all that easily. There's a bit of a warping going on with the moulding, and so yeah, it was all too much really. But yeah, with some proper coaches, modern coaches with metal wheels, I found that Oliver can actually pull about 4, which really isn't too bad, is it? So yeah, he's not a bad puller, and it certainly wasn't Oliver's fault that I've had to take off Toad. But yeah, Toad's going to have a rest. I don't know, all that work to get her off the turntable. or him off the turntable. Oh well, it was entertaining to watch, I hope. It was entertaining for me to do it. So here comes Duck with his coaches. Let's get a close-up on Duck, shall we? Here he comes. Oh yes. Duck definitely does things the Great Western way anyway. Bless him. There he goes. And they're quite old coaches as well, so we should all say well done to Duck for managing them so nicely. Anyway, here comes Oliver up Gordon's Hill. And now he's got a bit of a lighter train. Let's see if he can manage it. Come on, Oliver, do your best. Ooh, a little bit of wheel slip, I noticed. Oh, he did it though. Well done, Oliver. Here comes Percy. That's a Hornby Percy, and he actually runs really, really nicely as well. Blimey, Oliver's quite a speedy chap, isn't he? He gets a really good speed up. And here's Duck, of course. Well done, Mr. Duck. So here are my ratings then for the Bachmann Oliver. Detail 2 out of 5. Obviously the detail isn't superb on these, but to be honest, it isn't supposed to be. It never is supposed to be with these Bachmann models. So it's not necessarily a bad thing, but of course I've got to be honest. Power, 3 out of 5. During the testing that I've done with him, he can pull between 3 and 4 coaches with no problem, which of course is quite a lot more than the Hornby 14XX could do. It could only manage 1, so that's quite good power I think for a loco of that size. And equally, slow speed, 3 out of 5. I don't think that was too bad at all, as you saw. Quality, 5 out of 5. He's solid as a rock, he really, really is. Nothing's going to break on him, I'm pretty sure. And value, I've given it 2 out of 5 because this was £67.50, which I think for something as tiny and as simple as Oliver is quite ludicrous, and you know that's a lot more expensive than the Hornby 14XX, which true was a broken mess, but at least it had a lot more detail than Oliver did. So I think the price is a bit of a shame because it does cut people off, of course, but other than that he's a pretty good model. So 6.42 out of 10, that's his overall rating, and put him into the rankings then, that puts him 3rd, just below the Bachmann 4575 class. Oh, I do like doing that shot, especially with his eyes darting all around like that. Let's go back and look at Percy. Oh, look at that. That's the face of hard work, isn't it, on Percy? He's always hard working, though. Okay, I'm just waiting for Oliver just behind the computer table here, so I'll start to say my goodbyes. Thank you so much for watching. I really do hope you enjoyed seeing Oliver today. He's been a long time coming, so thank you everyone for waiting. But you know, I was telling people I'd get him in the end, and I did. So here he comes now, and I'm really glad I did. So if you enjoyed the video, please feel free to leave it a like or even a comment. And of course, if you'd also like to, feel free to check out the Facebook or Twitter pages. And those are at facebook.com/samstrains and twitter.com/samstrains. Once again, thank you very much for watching. I do love to have your company, as always, and I will see you very soon. Oh, and don't forget, if you want your name up, or your picture up I should say, on the Wall of Fame, just email it in to samstrains@outlook.com and you can see it in one of the videos, hopefully. It's getting quite full now. But yeah, feel free to send them in. There's still plenty of walls left in this room, so let's fill them all, shall we? Alright, cheers everybody.